Good morning. It's so wonderful to see everyone on this first Sunday of Lent. We are so excited to have our very own Catherine Toohey back to continue the conversation about the Enneagram that we kind of started in the fall. Today we're going to focus it on not struggling. What are we focusing on?
Reconnecting the heart.
Reconnecting the heart.
That's not struggling.
We're going to keep it positive.
Yeah. So there's a sign-in sheet. There's some paper and pens available for an activity for later. And I will say a prayer and then we will go ahead and get started. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, in this season of lament, in this season of penitence, in the season that we head towards the cross, may we come together as a community to lift one another up, to support one another, to love each other as you love and support and care for us. Open our hearts and minds to what you would have us learn today. In the name of the Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hi.
So as Rebecca said, my name is Catherine Toohey. For those of you who don't know me, this is also my son Charlie, who will be going to Sunday school very soon.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
So I have been a member of the church my entire life. My parents are members. All three of my children have been baptized by Patrick, and my husband and I were married in the church. So this is a big part of our life and community and bringing our children into this. So thank you guys all for coming. If you want to start the PowerPoint. So to give you guys a little background, we're talking about the Enneagram, but we're not totally talking about the Enneagram today. I'm finishing up a year-long certification with the Enneagram in the next 2 months. So I have a lot of knowledge about the Enneagram, but in this kind of setting where maybe not everyone knows their type or is aware of type or aware of the ins and outs of Enneagram, we're going to talk about things in more broader perspective. So please don't feel pressure that you have to know your type coming into this talk. That is not the intention at all. The intention is to listen, be receptive, and then to have an experience. Thanks, buddy. Okay, back over there. Okay. So I know the title of the discussion was Struggle and the 9 Types. However, we're going to quickly pivot. And struggle, I'm going to say, is a disconnection from the heart. So today we're going to work on reconnecting the heart. What distracts us from our ability to do that? And then what practices can we put in place to strengthen our ability to have a connection with our heart? Next. So where we're headed. So my goal for you today is to strengthen the connection to their heart. We're going to do that through the mind. We're going to do that through a meditation at the end, and we're going to do that through discussion. So we're going to talk about the importance of the heart as, I know this is probably challenging for you. But we can sit over there and draw while we're waiting, okay? He's getting picked up in a minute. All right, next. So we're going to do this in a variety of ways. We're going to talk about the language of the heart. So how does the heart communicate with you? What's the importance of the heart center versus the head center? Which is what we're going to also talk about. Why does the head get in the way? Why does our culture and society value what intellectually comes out of our head instead of what can come out of our heart? Because there's a lot of emotional intelligence, we'll get into it, but there's a lot of information that is quickly disregarded, but is also very important. And then at the end, we're going to exercise the heart. For any of you who don't know, I'm a former athlete, and so this idea of like exercising a muscle excites me. All right, next. So getting into the heart center. So your heart is the emotional brain of the body. It's connected to your values, your motivations, your mood, how you feel about yourself, and how you feel about others. It affects your general overall well-being. And there are more neural pathways running from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart.
Hmm.
So how do we use those neural pathways to our advantage?
Sorry, I'm like.
Patrick,
what?
comment?
I was like, wait, we just stop at that, sorry. Don't mind me, I'm just.
So how do we use that to our advantage? How do we enhance our self-awareness, our capacity for connection through others, and begin to listen to that inherent wisdom that lives in the heart? So, and when I talked earlier about this ability to exercise the muscles of the heart, like the fact says, the human heart is a magnetic field and can be measured from several feet away from your body. So how you exercise that muscle affects how you interact with people around you. And in turn, how you're receptive to how their heart is connecting with you. So what is that connection to others and to self-compassion, self-love? Gratitude. I'm going to introduce it today as the concept of gratitude. So gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart and not in the mind. It is a heartfelt sensation. And when people feel gratitude, they feel less pain, less stress, less suffering, less insomnia. They have stronger immune systems. They have healthier relationships. They do better academically, professionally. Overall, it can boost your mental health, your physical health. So that begs the question, why is this so hard? Why can't we tap into that inherently all the time? Well, I'm going to pose the question, maybe it's because our head gets in the way. That is so great. Do you want to show them?
For those who are just walking in now, we do have some sheets and some pens over here for later use.
I find the sheet. She'll be in, actually, she'll be in a minute too. Okay, next.
She just went by.
Oh, there's Miss Patty. Go show Miss Patty.
She's in the hall.
She's in the hall.
Oh, I did have, she already. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So we'll get everyone settled and then we'll keep going. All right, Miss Kate's gonna come get you very soon. Oh, thank you. Oh, but you gotta go with Miss Kate to get the ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they'll be here too. Do you want to show Patrick and John? He would love to see it. Okay, so how does our head get in the way? The beauty of the Enneagram is it offers all kind of inherent wisdom and knowledge and tools to develop self-awareness. So I'm going to use the tools and the knowledge of the Enneagram today to explain 9 different thought patterns, 9 different mental loops, 9 different focuses of awareness that mentally distract you from your ability to connect with your heart. So the Enneagram, it just means Ennea means 9, gram means something written or drawn. It's centuries. It comes from way back. There's lots of different theories about how it started, but the important thing is there's been a resurgence of it lately, and there's lots of different teachers that have their different spin on it, and it's gaining traction. But the wild thing about it is when you do find out your type, your ability to deep dive into why the behaviors and why your personality is manifesting the way it is. It's wild how you can begin to unpack that. So along with 9 mental patterns, there are also 9 patterns of the heart. And so we're going to touch on both. Know that when I present these 9 patterns, a lot of them are going to feel approachable. A lot of them are going to resonate. You're going to say, oh yes, that's me. I see that in me, but I also see that in me. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is think about it in terms of one voice is louder than the other. Okay, so yes, you could be having a thought pattern and then very quickly followed up by another thought pattern, but there is one that's louder than the other. And so we'll dive into those patterns now. I'm going to start with type 8. So don't be confused. It's not like it's a scale from 1 to 9. It's not like there's one type is better than the other type. They all have their struggles. They all have their superpowers. But so don't be thrown off that I start with 8. I go 8, 9, 1, all the way up to 7. All right. Any questions before I begin?
If you don't know your type on the link for this week's egram, or in this week's egram, there's a link to a free quiz. Yeah.
There's a lot of different tests you can take online. I did offer one test that is free that I had a couple of people take. They felt like it was pretty accurate. The one thing I do like about this test is it goes through, it gives you the percentage for each type of the number of answers that the number of questions that you answered. But what I say this all with a grain of salt, because in order to truly find your type, it takes self-study. I'm trained in running you through an interview and guiding you, but even I can't tell you how you're thinking on a daily basis. I can't tell you, despite what you're saying to me, the state of your heart and what it's truly feeling, and if that's what you're communicating. That is up to you to me give you feedback, the books give you feedback, self-study give you feedback, and then really dive into a self-inquiry. What do you got to go with Patrick to go get the screen? Ooh. Oh, well, I'll go in a minute, and they'll be here in a minute. Okay. All right. So we're gonna dive. Just wait right here. We're gonna dive into type 8 to start. So don't feel pressured to know a lot about the Enneagram. Just think about this as 9 different thought patterns and just curious. Okay. So type 8. Type 8 is known as the challenger. They focus on control. They have an innate sense that they can control what is going on. They can take action. They're assertive. They have a sense, they have a presence of being strong. I can handle it. I can do this. They're seeking order. So when you're seeking order, that means you have an innate ability to look for injustices as well. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. So when you're looking for injustices or unfairnesses in the world, inherently you're sizing people up into weak and strong. And you're doing this subconsciously. This isn't like you're actively going out and you're like, oh, you're weak, you're strong, this is unfair. No, this is a highly subconscious way of looking at the world. Oh, go, yeah. Excuse me. Yes. I'm the 7 barging in. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. Grateful for community.
Did you hear she sounded the 7 barging in.
Patty's a 7. So the focus is on being strong, being assertive, creating order. If someone, they have the innate sense, if someone is coming with me with a lot of assertiveness, they question that. They see the world as being in war, and they see the world as taking advantage of the weak. And it's their job to make a difference and have an impact, to assert their territory. So they're very action oriented, which actually comes from the gut sensation. So they have a great sense of the bigger picture. And they have a good sense of how they can impact any given situation. They are not your sit on the sidelines kind of people. So what does that mean for the heart state? So the mental state is this action, 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 looking for unfairness. But to get out of that, the heart state needs to say, but wait, I see the good in others. The world isn't unfair. I can rely on other people because they are inherently good. You open the heart to the unexpected, surrendering to the idea of it's okay, don't know what's coming next. Seeing how others' intentions are good. There isn't war everywhere. And the real work for an 8 is recognizing the good intentions in their enemy. So you can see the shift from the mental perspective to where the heart needs to be.
Other challengers who don't see the good in others.
Are there challengers who don't see the good in others? Yeah, so that's their focus of attention. Their normal go-to is to inherently think that other people aren't good and they need to go fix that. Yeah, so so in terms of the Enneagram, there's a low side of personality and there's a high side of personality. So there's low awareness and elevated self-awareness. So we're bouncing between what would be low awareness and then what would be the elevated state. Yes.
I guess my question on the heart state is that are the challengers normal underlying perception, or is that what they are striving for?
Working towards, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the focus attention of the mental state keeps you from this higher state of the emotional state, higher level of the emotional state.
Do the heart and brain work together
Yeah.
to accomplish this?
Because remember, there's more neural pathways coming from here to here. So if you can generate, if 8s can generate the belief that there is good in others, which seems a basic concept, right? That is a base. It seems like everyone should feel that way. And for all the types, of course, that's going to be the constant question. Well, doesn't everyone feel that way? Well, but that's the work to have that voice be louder than some of the mental focus. So where I say the focus, which on your sheet where it says focus of attention, that is a lower mental state. That is a low self-awareness. I'm sure you've seen behavior, especially in politics, where people have acted this out. Yes.
I think I used to manage an 8. And it's interesting to me thinking about this because I wish that what I had drawn out in him was seeing the positive and praising people, because that would have the shift he needed.
Yeah.
So it's interesting thinking about it, how we can support each other.
So that's the cool thing about, as I go through this, maybe this isn't you, but maybe this is someone, this is a coworker, maybe this is a neighbor, maybe this is a family member, maybe this is someone you see in society and the public. All right, next. So nines. Nines are considered the peacemaker. Nines, their focus is on disruptions in the force. So how, let me make sure I get this right. The focus of attention. How is the harmony of any given situation being threatened? And what do I need to do about it? The assumption is that I'm the one that needs to do something. They're scanning the horizon for disruptions in the force. Their focus is on disharmony, tension that threatens to disrupt. They're very good at mediating conflict. I've heard from people in the workforce that companies or groups that use the Enneagram, if they have to make hard decisions or they're bringing two parties together, they always make sure that there's a 9 in the room. They are focused externally, meaning they're looking for the demands of others. They're looking for other people's agendas to make sure that it doesn't conflict or create disharmony in a group or in a family or with a partner. So they're focused on other people's agendas. That comes across as very warm and friendly and easygoing. But the problem is they're not asserting their own opinions, their own agenda, their own self-worth. And they're afraid to be the disruptor. And this isn't just about people. This is about someone cutting a tree down. This is about someone harming animals. This is about polluting the oceans. So it's not just focused on relationships. That's a different type that we'll get to. So the heart shift would be, I'm worthy. My opinions matter. My agenda matters. I can insert myself into the conversation and I can be a disruptor. They think that being grateful is just being positive and being agreeable, but really you're not showing up for yourself or showing up for others. But in order to do that, you have to see your true worth. And you have to believe that you are worth it, that your opinion is worth it.
Are these all, I'm getting a little confused.
Yeah.
Would one have more control with the head and the other more control with the heart?
In terms of like one type being head
Yeah,
and
like
then,
I am worthy, is he got more head working or more heart working?
so it's uniquely for each individual, but the work in general is to align the two.
On both of them.
To align,
But
The
is it
heart, the
better to
head.
work more with the heart or more with the head?
depends on where you are and what you need.
It varies from place to place, person to person, and sometimes you can use more heart, sometimes you can use.
Yes.
I think I'm now understanding why the questions were worded the way they were. I like to do a good job and I get upset if people don't recognize it. That's two, to me, totally inconsistent thoughts.
Yeah.
And I might say, agree with one and not with the other. And that was the problem I had with the whole test. And I think I'm understanding why the questions are worded that way. I'm not still not sure I know how to answer it, but
That's okay.
but I'm beginning to, you're really bringing some of it into focus for me, so.
Well, you have to let your heart guide you.
Or, I mean, you'll kind of, a good test of knowing your type is when it's like a dagger to the soul, where you're like, oh, I've never told anyone that. Like, I have
Yeah.
noticed that, but that is never anything I would show any other person. That's when you found your type. Was there a question over here? No, okay. So appreciating your own good qualities and recognizing the value in that, and then being able to assert that. That was the work of the night. Next. So ones. Okay, so there's a little caveat to this picture. So normally when someone gets in trouble, they have to write on the blackboard, I will follow the rules, I will follow the rules, I will follow this. But I want you to notice the look on this kid's face. It's almost like he's proud of that, right? Like he's not mischievous. He's like, if you guys could all get along and notice this, the world would be a better place. So the focus of attention for ones is thinking in terms of right and wrong, the details of what's not working. It isn't this way and it should be this way. Ones are also called the reformer, where it's like, I'll be the one to show you. If everyone could just follow the rules, the world would be a better place. They're uber responsible, highly focused on doing the right thing, which means when you're over focused on doing the right things, you're constantly correcting errors, you're looking for mistakes, and you think you have the ability to control things. And when things are out of order, when there's chaos, you look to rules, you look to procedures. You think in terms of an ideal. There's one way this should be done and there's one right way to do it, and I can tell you how that is. And you're constantly noticing imperfections and how things could be better. So, I mean, there's lots of examples, but you walk into a room and you can be like, oh, that chair's out of order, that should be fixed. Okay. So you're scanning for imperfections, errors, mistakes, and you're the one that knows how to fix it. And you're the one that knows how to make it right. So then the heart shift would be celebrating the imperfections and allowing that to happen. And recognizing life is imperfect. Life is messy. Have you had a toddler in your house? And that's what makes us human. That's what makes the world more interesting, and really believing that even though the path is imperfect, it's imperfectly perfect. And that's exactly how it should be. Next. Choose the helper. This might get to what you were talking about. So the twos are focused on others, what's going on in any given relationship. The energy is outwards. They're seeking approval. They're always thinking about the others in terms of what are they feeling about me? What are they thinking about me? Where do I stand in this relationship? So it's very relationship oriented. They anticipate what others need before the other even knows what they need. May I give you an example? Yesterday, I'm working in this PowerPoint presentation and my son, very cute 4-year-old, he brings me a pillow and he's like, Mommy, this is for your back. Oh, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know I needed that, and you did. And they feel a need, they feel compelled to provide. It's important to be liked by others. You get caught up in really strong emotions, and it's hard to shift away from that. And there's a tendency of not being at home in your own heart. And as outwardly pleasing as twos are, it's actually really difficult for them to be grateful. Because they inherently feel that they need to do something in any given situation to make it better. So then the heart shift for a 2 is turning inward and being grateful for all the things that are already happening, despite them doing anything. And understanding that gratitude is not flattery. It is not giving compliments. It's not having a positive impact, invoking an emotion on someone, making them feel better. Gratitude is a deep and pure expression of thankfulness. What is here that I can appreciate and feel good about with not having to do anything about it, with not making anyone feel better? So it's introducing that idea of humility. I am humble. I have no impact. Okay, next. Yes, question.
Hard time understanding the relationship between the humility part and the others seem very intuitive, but the heart stage in this one just doesn't seem intuitive.
So here, we're gonna go back to 2. So 2's the driving force of the 2, the reason they think all of these things comes from pride. And it is a hard lesson to learn or accept that all these good deeds that you're doing could be coming from pride. So then the opposite of pride is humility.
It's like, as it says, like being liked. That sounds at least
So-
superficially kind of like,
So it's the belief that I can make you like me.
okay,
So that's pride, thinking that I can do that.
okay.
All right, next. 3's the achiever. So that's my type. I'll be fully transparent.
Yes.
So 3's, we believe we're the ones that make things happen. I mean, I went on vacation with my family, entire family with 10 people. We traveled to Park City. That trip did not happen without me doing all the planning and making all of the preparations. This is my thought process, right? Like, this is not healthy, but I am the one that puts into action and motivates and brings people together and sets the agenda and creates the tasks. And if you're not going to do it, I will pick up the slack and actually be bitter that you're not holding up your end of the bargain, but don't worry, I'll get it done.
Oh,
Ouch.
Right?
yes.
Ouch.
And come over, because we're moving.
But all of this is driven by image. All of this is, I want, similar to 2, I want you to think a certain way of me. And I'm really focused on success. Just a horrible way to go through life. I seek refuge in a to-do list. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love checking things off the to-do list. I love being productive. It fuels my motivation to wake up every day. I love displaying confidence. I avoid failure at all costs. At all costs. I love being busy and I love getting things done. The problem with all of that is the entire time. So I always say, if you're running a lot, and that can be in take any form, you're running away from something. And 3's are running away from emotions. Because emotions are inefficient. Why would you get tied down with emotion? That's keeping you from being productive. And that doesn't seem very competent to be weighed down by your emotions. But the problem is, if I'm not relating to my emotions, how the heck am I handling the 4-year-old that's here while I'm trying to give a presentation? How am I showing up for him? if I'm not in touch with my own emotions. So the shift for the 3 is recognizing that you have a heart, recognizing that you have emotions, and recognizing that I need to understand how I can feel, and I need to be in touch with that so that I can truly connect with other human beings and not just look at them as a transactional relationship so that I can be more productive. So the work of a 3 is to feel, to be a human being and not a human doer.
Broad question, but.
Yeah.
Does the, your upbringing, effects in life that hit you off and on, cause you to be one or the other of these?
So there's lots of different theories on this. The people that I'm studying with believe that you're born with your type, and then that there's events throughout your life that solidify it. There are certain things in your type where if you delve deeper into it, it goes into object relation theory, which is how you separate from the mother figure, the father figure, or the relationship of the mother and father. Sometimes like, so Enneagram does bring in a lot of like soul child theory, object relation theory, and some other, it's closely tied to psychology, as well as there's a spirituality component to it as well.
And it's pretty difficult to switch from one type to another once you're an adult, isn't it?
You're always one type.
Always one type from the
You
beginning.
can
from the
grow
time you're a
beyond
little
that,
kid.
which is what?
From the time you're a little kid, really?
Yeah, so you're born with type. Type is solidified between the ages of 8 to 10. And then teenagers, once the brain is mentally mature enough, you can begin to talk about type with 12, 14, 16-year-olds. My children are learning a lot from the age of 10. He's very curious about it, but we keep it in broad terms at this point. But yes, you are always one type. And the beauty of the Enneagram is once you study it and learn it and delve deeper into it, it gives you a path forward to grow beyond your type. Yes,
You're better you,
to be
maybe.
a better you. Yes.
What do you mean by one type? I mean, I guess it's possible to be a little bit of 1 and a little bit of 2.
For sure. Yeah.
So you mean you stay one type, meaning if you're born being a little bit of 1 and a little bit of 2, you'll die being a little bit of 1 and a little bit of 2.
So there's lots of things, and I mean, this is an entirely different talk, but there's lots of areas for growth and opportunity with the Enneagram. And so one of the approachable things is the 2 types either side of you. So like I'm a 3, but a lot of 2 resonates with me and a lot of 4 resonates with me. During the growth path, the Enneagram has a guide, and it points you to other types that really help you shift your focus and grow beyond your type. So yes, I don't have, where is that book? So the Enneagram symbol, and this speaks exactly to that. So the Enneagram symbol, sometimes it's looked at as these are arrows in it, and the arrows show you how best that your type grows beyond your type. So this is a working symbol. Okay. Yes.
It would seem to me that, like, we often think of teenage years as being, exploring all these things,
Mhm.
that maybe when a teenager sees some people that impress them and make them feel like, wow, what a cool life or whatever, that they would try on some behaviors, but it's not them. And so it creates a conflict in a certain way, and they may act out to a varying degree, or love can do that, or different things, or you might have a teacher that is so, it touches you in such a way that you want to be like him in a way, and yet it's not exactly your approach. And so I guess there's a lot of
So the
Coming and going.
Enneagram, the Enneagram actually speaks to, it's called an energetic merger.
Mm,
And it speaks to that. And that's actually one of the challenging things about finding your type is you could be energetically influenced by a spouse, by a parent. I've been in many interviews where we talk and we talk and we talk, and I present some information and they say, that's not me, that's my mom. And it's like, okay, then let's go back and redo this and let's speak from you. Right? So,
I see, yeah.
yes. That. Okay, next. Yes.
Back to that
Oh,
one
go back to
for a
through.
second.
Yeah.
Explain again what the heart feels.
The heart
when
feels
you're a
nothing.
cheater here.
The heart feels nothing. The
Feels
heart feels impatient.
Normally.
Yeah,
Yes.
normally, when you're driven by this focus, the heart is impatient. The heart is saying, because the mind is saying, I need to be productive.
Okay.
And so the heart is shut down. And the heart is really saying, hey, what about me? I have emotions, I feel, can you tap into that? Because you're just racing forward and you're totally denying that I exist and that I matter. And in order for you to shift from being a human doer to a human being, you need to connect with your emotions. Because there's a lot of intellect there. Because it's inefficient for a 3 to take the time to invest in emotions.
Is that because the emotions are uncomfortable? There's a lot of pain there.
That's another type.
That's
It's
another
because
type?
it's because they're inefficient.
It's just because it's inefficient.
It's inefficient.
But there's another type where. it's
We'll get
because
to that.
They don't want to talk about their feelings because. they're
Yes.
painful.
Yes.
Okay.
Figure out who we are
No.
today.
No. All right, next. 'Cause we have what, 20 minutes?
I
left? Yes.
just want to say, I did go online before, somehow or another it popped up in my email. So I went ahead and took the test.
Uh-huh.
So I know which one I am.
Do you think it's true? I mean, it
do,
resonated with
do.
you?
I think the more you talk and the more I do. I think it's very true.
I think it's true too, but it makes me feel bad. I think, oh God.
There's hope. There's hope. Yes.
I can see myself in the one that they said I was, but I can see myself in several of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are aspects, I think, that come, you may be one, made, like you say, from birth, but then there are aspects of others that I think,
Yeah. Yes.
And doesn't it matter where you are in life?
yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
is that a consideration in this one?
It matters in terms of, yes, there are certain defining life experiences, death or grief or therapy, or like I said, merging potentially with a spouse. There are things that influence this, but the driving there's a passion of each type. That driving passion, where I talked about 2s being pride, that driving passion is ever present.
So this is predestination.
Presbyterian.
I don't agree with predestination.
But it's
So just to clarify what predestination
Yeah.
is, from the theologian, I'm sorry, I have to interject. So predestination is the idea of what happens in the afterlife, not necessarily what happens
In this.
in this life. So if anything, it would be providence. So providence is God providing specific things throughout our lives.
oh,
I think though,
I think God's going to free you from all of this.
I'm sorry.
God would free you from all of this.
Right, so yeah, there's the whole free will and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think if I'm understanding you, just the way we are, the way we respond to situations is our Enneagram type.
It's driven by the passion of your type, which is a whole nother talk. But yes, but I gave you the tidbit of the information for the 2, like understanding how pride, the passion of 2 is pride, how that drives personality.
maybe it's the way we want to respond, not necessarily the way we respond.
There's an inherent pull
Yeah.
from either the head, the heart, or the body of a way to respond. And then yes, through life experience or through self-awareness or through external expectations, you filter that.
I mean, I'm thinking of, I won't use the words, but when you have great anger towards somebody and you do not react, you react totally different than what you really feel you want to do.
Some people do, yes, others don't, yes.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of the work that you do to kind of counteract your type is, so there's like the initial response of how you want to respond, and then the work you do is responding quote unquote appropriately.
The work you do is creating the pause to determine where is that response coming from? Does this serve me right now? Is that who I truly am?
It's weird because they talk, of course, as you know, a lot about birth order. So you might, because you're, let's say, a middle child, which is supposed to be somewhat about a peacemaker, you might be poured into a mold that is not you.
So I'll give you the example. I'm a middle child.
Uh-huh.
And when I took the test and when I learned about Enneagram, and I'm the middle child of 2 boys, I'm the only girl in the family.
Me too.
That resonated with me. And that is, yes, a huge part of my personality. And I have those skills and I am capable of doing that. But when it comes down to that first reaction, that innate response, I'm 3.
Yeah.
What are you?
A 3.
You're 3. Yeah.
That's why she's doing the splits, right?
Something
There you
like that.
go.
I'm lost with
Yes.
them. I did do
Is
it.
this related at all to the Myers-Briggs and the personality types?
It can be, it's like a version of that, but the big difference between the Enneagram is they're not trying to put you in a box. They're trying to show you the glass box that you're in and give you a way out. And the other thing that I appreciate about the Enneagram is it's threefold. It's recognizing that you need to do psychological work as well as spiritual work and one other thing, but they bring into the aspect of the importance of spiritual work and recognizing that there's a higher being outside of you, which the stronger relationship you have with spiritual work and the higher being, the easier it is for you to be receptive to this heart space that I'm talking about. Whereas Myers-Briggs didn't talk about that.
I like what you said, that you have to do the psychological work as well as the spiritual work.
Yeah.
I think that's very important to remember.
Yeah. So as an Enneagram practitioner, like teaching on this and coaching people on this, we are taught to detect, like, when is this trauma showing up in this person? When do they need to unpack this with a psychologist or a therapist? When this is not Enneagram work, this is psychological work. Yeah. Okay. 4s. So 4s, they are focused on what's going on in their internal state. So they're focused on how I'm feeling. They're focused on comparing themselves to other. And when I say comparing themselves to others, that's good and bad. They walk into a room and they size up, oh, I'm better dressed than that person. That person's really well dressed. So it's that outward focus, but then it's communicated with, oh, but how does that make me feel? How does they actually over-identify with emotions. Their focus is on, am I connected or am I disconnected? Where does similar to the 2, where does my connection lie in this relationship? And they have an innate ability to sense when something is missing or sense when something is lacking. They're highly creative, okay? And so they focus on a deficiency. So they kind of have this, I don't take this with a grain of salt, Eeyore. This kind of this woe is me mentality. Kind of this, okay?
Always the victim.
Always the victim. Yeah, and this is the low side. This is the really unhealthy 4. That is the very unhealthy 4. But what is important for 4 is because they can quickly see the negative in things, or they can become overwhelmed with emotion, or they can feel like a lack, like I'm not as good as that person. When you're constantly comparing, that means you have a really unstable inner state. So the shift for the heart center for 4 is actually the best thing you can do is just developing a gratitude practice. So it's shifting from that negativity, that woe is me mentality, to recognizing the good in yourself, the good in others, the beauty in the world. So it's like, I'll give you an example of looking at a rose. Rose inherently is like the most beautiful flower, right? But a 4 would look at it and be like, ah, but look at that. Look at that thorn. Yeah. And so it's like, can you accept the beauty of the rose as the beauty of the rose? And so the gratitude practice is recognizing I can go outside myself and I can see all the things around me that I should be grateful for in a positive light. Okay, we got a couple more. I'm gonna roll through some of these. Okay, 5, the observer. So 5s are focused. They spend a lot of time in their heads. They really like to acquire knowledge. They like to connect intellectually with other people. They like to develop theories and pursue intellectual expertise. They love logic. But with that comes
That's me.
but with that comes a deep need for privacy. And they constantly feel under threat by having to respond to external demands. So I heard the story the other day where a 5, and I joke, I say this because my son, he might be a 5. And it's like I walk towards him and he's like, what is she going to ask me to do? Like, what expectation is she going to put on me that I actually want nothing to do with, because I just want to do this and I'll get to her agenda when the time is right for me. But like her walking towards me, that is depleting my energy. It's taking away from, you're asking me to exert energy that I don't feel like I have the capacity to do, because right now I'm in conservation mode. So they have this bit of like a scarcity mentality, like that they can't be, that there's only so much love to give in the world. There's only so much energy that I can give to all of your demands. Don't you know that I just want to retreat and sit in my room with books and feel safe? So that's kind of the headspace of a 5. So the antidote, the heart space for that is, can we believe, can we feel that life is abundant? There's enough energy, there's enough resources, there's enough love in the world, and I can be open and receptive to that. Okay, we have 2 more, and then we're gonna get to the last thing. Okay, so type 6. My husband is a 6. I know we have some other 6s in the room. 6s are focused on anticipating problems. They think in terms of worst case scenario. They're detecting threats and risks. They're the planners. They always joke that they were prepared for the pandemic before the pandemic even happened. But the other thing that they're doing is they're scanning for inconsistencies in behavior. So they're looking to you, are you showing up consistent? And if you're not, I'm going to begin to question that. They can kind of have a negative outlook on things because if you're looking for problems, then more problems inherently arise. And when you're looking for problems, that means you're looking for things that aren't going well. And so you're being the problem solver, but what if there aren't problems to solve? What if you stop being the problem seeker? So the shift for the headspace is feeling the fear, right? Because if you're planning your worst case scenario, inherently there's fear with that. But if you can feel the fear and move with it despite the fear, that's courage. So the heart state for a 6 is, I'm courageous. Does that resonate? All right, last one, and then we're going to do an exercise. So the enthusiast. So we talked about escaping pain, right? You asked why 3, we don't feel emotions because we don't feel they're efficient. 7s, they don't feel emotions because they're afraid they're going to get stuck in emotions. So 7s, the focus of attention is opportunities, being happy, planning, lots of options. They hate to be limited. I call it the charcuterie board of life. They're very future oriented. Just like this picture, the energy of a 7 goes up and it continues to go up. They are the person in the meeting that comes up with 1,000 ideas, but has a really hard time implementing one. They love to engage mentally with you. Any mental stimulation, imagination, what's the craziest trip that you could plan and go on? I mean, they will go down that road with you. They love making associations, and they fear being trapped or being limited.
Is this the one you said Robin Williams was?
Yeah, Robin Williams is a 7. So
I'm a
being
7. I took the test.
You took the test. So the shift for a 7 is feeling stillness. Because there's so much energy going up and up and out and forward, that it's how can you feel stillness in your heart? Because a 7, I'm sure you guys have seen this, a 7, the gratitude looks like a positive expression of thankfulness. But really what that is just a mental acknowledgement. They're so far from the stillness in their heart, in the ability to sit with emotion in the heart, that to make that true heart connection is really difficult for us. They feel like they're doing it. They mentally are doing it, but they're not doing it from the heart. Yep.
I missed the quiz. Which issue of this week's or last week?
Say that again.
Test.
The test.
It
It
on
was
the
sent out.
e-gram.
It was on
Friday?
This week's or last, she wants to know, is it this week's or last week's e-gram?
Oh,
It was
it
this week's.
If you read the e-gram about this program, there's a
Yeah,
thing, push share.
Okay, which week was that in?
The one that just came out Thursday.
Oh, this week's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you have to read the blurb about the Sunday school. and it's in there.
All right, next.
A little bit of work.
Yeah. And you have to read it before this
Yes.
morning.
No, you can see what side we on later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Oh, I mean,
the ability to be receptive to this and like take all of this in, and honestly, you can take the test, but you can also read the book.
It's gonna be in the library, isn't it?
It will be in the library. Yes, right there. Okay, so let's go deeper. So when we're talking about gratitude, the first type of gratitude is appreciation, and that comes from the mental state. That's literally someone saying thank you, or not even thank you, it's thanks. Okay, the next state of gratitude is grace. So that's the look you in the eye, the handshake kind of gratitude. That's a little closer to the heart. That's like, I acknowledge you. I give you grace. I'm thanking you for whatever it is that we're exchanging. Okay. Now, the third level of gratitude is true connection. And that comes from, it goes back to that quote of the memory, it's a memory in the heart center. So I'm not only feeling grateful, but I feel closer to you. I feel connected to you. And I think we can all think of an experience about the difference between a thank you and a connection with someone. So how do we build that connection with our heart so that our gratitude is more a heartfelt connection as opposed to just a mental exchange? We're going to do that now. So we have time. Okay, can I take 3 minutes of your time?
Sure.
Okay, all right. We're gonna do a meditation. It's gonna be a 3-minute meditation. The first bit, we're gonna drop in, we're gonna focus on our breath. I'm gonna guide your breath to the heart center. The second part, I'm not only gonna guide your breath to the heart center, but then we're gonna use some imagery work. And we're gonna think about radiant beams coming into the heart center. And then once we've generated that sensation, I want you to pick one of those words or phrases as a mantra for the last part of the meditation. There's no right or wrong choice. Just look at it, pick one. Okay. So we have the good in others, worthy, perfectly imperfect, humble, emotion, grateful, abundance, courageous, and stillness. Just pick one and we're going to use it in the last part of the meditation. You're going to use it as a mantra. Okay. All right. So right now, everyone close your eyes. Sit up nice and straight in your seat. Feet flat on the floor. So either eyes closed or a soft gaze. And bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing, if possible, breathing in and out of the nose. And then bringing the awareness to the heart center. So feeling as if you can breathe in and out of the center of your chest. Directing the breath to the center of the chest. And then gently beginning to lengthen your inhales. Maybe to the count of 5. And lengthen your exhales. So inhaling to the count of 5, right to the heart center. Exhaling. Notice the sensation that happens when you breathe into the heart center and release it from the heart center. And then think about that inhale as radiant beams from the sun. Inhaling the warm, radiant beams right into the heart center. And then that exhale, letting it go, sending those radiant beams out. So strong inhale, the warm, radiant beams. And the exhale coming right back out of the heart center. Notice the sensation in the heart. Maybe there's a sense of warmth beginning to build. Maybe you feel an energy vibrating, keeping the focus of the breath in and out of the heart. Now reflecting and bringing that word, that mantra into the headspace, but then dropping it down into the heart. So the inhale, breathe the word into the heart. And the exhale, send it into the room. Inhaling straight through the heart. Exhale, releasing it. Feeling the sensation in the heart and letting it go. Couple more times here. And then beginning to release that sensation, returning to a normal breath. keeping the eyes closed, just notice what you feel. What do you feel? And then when you're ready, opening the eyes, coming back to the room. So what I want to leave you with is, as you move into these next couple weeks of Lent and hearing the other presentations, thinking about a different way that you can be receptive to the information that you receive. And can we feel it from here and not as much here? Thank you, guys.